I played Nier Automata quite a while ago. At that time I was pretty burnt out with gaming because everything seemed to be the same thing over and over again. Now, almost 10 years later, I still think about it. The story, the characters, the music and gameplay come together so nicely. It is truly a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and also very depressing. But it showed me that games are capable to tell a story in a form no other medium can, and ignited my love for gaming like never before. I knew that sort of a remaster of the original Japanese version of Nier Replicant from 2010 exists, but somehow never got to it. So now here we are, back to breaking my heart. I thought I knew Nier Automata very well, but it turns out I missed half of the story, and now that I played Replicant, it hits even harder. Nier originally started as a continuation of Drakengard, specifically its fifth ending. In Japan there were two versions of the game, Nier Replicant for the PlayStation 3 and Nier Gestalt for the Xbox 360. There aren't any big differences between those two, only that on PlayStation you play the brother of Yonah and on Xbox the father of her, so the relationship differs. Also, the year in which it takes place isn't the same. Here in the West we got a version which was only called Nier. It's just the Gestalt version because people thought that the father is cooler and it would sell better because of it. I even remember it coming out back then, but I had absolutely no interest in it because I was a cool kid who only played real games like Call of Duty, Gears of War and Halo. Look at these silly Japanese people making silly games. Kids are fucking stupid, man. The game centers around a boy and his sister Yonah. All the sources I've seen seem to say that the boy is named Nier, but in game you can name him however you want, and it never states anything about the name Nier, but correct me if I'm wrong here. And so everyone is on the same page, I will also call him Nier throughout the video. Anyways, Yonah is sick with an uncurable disease called the Black Scrawl, which manifests as a swirl of black letters around the skin, and ultimately leads to death. Nier knows this, but when his sister tries to find a mythical flower, the lunar tear, things are set in motion, and his hope in finding a cure is rekindled when he meets an old magical, speaking book called Grimoire Weiss. No abbreviations. Not Weiss, not Weissy, not magazine. Grimoire Weiss. He is probably one of the best characters I have ever met in a game. You like him instantly, and throughout the game he becomes a loyal friend to Nier. Imagine being a modern game developer trying to make a story-based game, and all your characters are overshadowed by a silly book from 16 years ago. Many such cases. Like in Nier Automata, you're expected to do multiple playthroughs of the game in order to get the full picture. This works well for the second and fifth since they add a lot, but becomes very tedious for the third one because you need to collect all weapons in the game to see its ending. This wouldn't be too bad if the side quests, which you have to do as a part of it, didn't suck completely. I understand why according to Steam not many people made it that far. The fact that the fighting isn't very deep doesn't help the case. It looks flashy and gets the job done, but there isn't much more to it. Even with collectible weapons and spells, I would always use the same few things. After finding the book and rescuing Yonah from her little trip to the Lost Shrine, Nier heads back to the village, which functions as our home area and connects the other parts of the map. It's where Nier and his sister live, and we visit it quite often throughout the game. To Nier's surprise, the twin sisters, Devola and Popula, both seem to know who Grimoire Weiss is. Devola explains that he is part of the song she is singing all the time, the Song of the Ancients. I love that here it is explained how the song is in an old forgotten language, because it appears in Automata too, where I always asked myself why so many tunes are in this strange language, and now there is a reason for it. The song explains that when a black book, Grimoire Noir, brings calamity, a white book, Grimoire Weiss, will appear, and with his sealed verses will vanquish the black book and purge the calamity he wrought. So now Nier has a clear goal, finding all sealed verses and cure Yonah with them. He already acquired one earlier in the shrine after defeating some shades, which are the only enemies in the game and come in a few different variations. The verses function as spells we can use. A village called Aerie seems to house the next verse, so Nier heads there next only to find nothing. But on his way out, he spots some flowers hanging in some sort of hut. They turn out to be lunar tears, and he is instantly greeted by their owner, a strange woman in her underwear. A fight breaks out but is interrupted by an enormous, lizard-like shade, so the two join forces to repel it. Afterwards, the woman reveals her name, Kaine. I knew her already from pictures, but didn't know anything about her character beforehand. I had this image in my head of her being kinda like 2B. She is not like her at all. In fact, she is the most foul-mouthed woman of all time. I thought it was hilarious that the game would just beep out half of her sentences and the reactions Weiss had. The relationship between her and Weiss was the funniest thing throughout the whole game. They are constantly on each other's neck, but you feel that ultimately they care for each other. As Nier returns to the village to check on Yonah, he finds her in a lot of pain. To relieve her pain, Nier needs to catch a shaman fish at seafront and alongside helps out an old woman with her mail. Yonah consumes the fish and her pain is gone. Popular received a letter from the mayor of Seafront who informs about a lot of shades at the Eyrie. Before Nier can head there though, he needs to strengthen his blade. So he visits the junk heap where a blacksmith is located. In order to be able to upgrade the sword, he needs parts which drop from machines inside the heap. As soon as I entered, I began thinking, wait a moment, is this the factory from Automata? Then the music started sounding very familiar. Have a listen. It's not exactly the same piece, but unmistakably has the same DNA, the same rhythm, ethereal voice, industrial sounds. Then there are the names. One is called Wretched Automatons, the other Wretched Weaponry.
Coincidence? I think not!
Finding stuff like this on your own feels very satisfying, and while there are obvious ones like Song of the Ancients, there are a lot of smaller things which Automata clearly hints at. For example, the library in which we always talk to Popular seems to be the one from the Forest Kingdom in Automata. There are also these banners on the walls which look like the quest symbols in Replicant. After collecting the parts and getting our sword upgraded, Nier searches for the missing mother of the blacksmith, only to find her dead. So finally we can head back to the Eyrie and meet Kaine again. She joins us in our quest to defeat the Shades, but the big lizard is also back, and after getting a good beating resorts to speaking in the voice of Kaine's grandmother to trick her, but fails to do so, and Nier strikes the finishing blow. With the lizard gone, Kaine seems to give up on life after having her revenge. We will find out later why. Nier and Weiss manage to talk her out of it though, and from now on she is part of our group.
Oba-chan, もういいよね。疲れちゃった。
カイネ、こっちだよ。諦めちゃダメだよ。生きるんだよ。絶対に諦めちゃダメだ。まったく、手間のかかる女だ。捕まえた。死んじゃダメだ、カイネ。
生きる。何のために？
それは。
私の復讐はもう終わったんだ。
まったく、ご託の多い女ほど扱いづらいものはない。我らに復讐を手伝わせておいて、終わったらさよならか。たわけがあるほど俊敏に戦うくせに頭の方は点で回らぬようだな。 仲間のために死ぬことこそ剣士の本望なのであろう。
仲間？
仲間？そうだよ、僕たちもう仲間だよ。
別に我はそういう意味で言ったわけでは。
じゃあどういう意味で言ったの？
それは
カイネ、僕たちと一緒に戦ってくれる？
バカ者、単刀直入すぎるぞ。ここはもっと段取りというか手順というかなんというか言葉を尽くして交渉に当たるのが
そこの
由緒正しき。我を物のように呼ぶでない。我が名は白の書、深淵なる英知の。
では白。
だからなぜ略すのだ。
貴様の言う通りかもしれないな。復讐以外の自分。
一緒に来てくれるよね？
この剣の使い道がわかるまではそうすることにしよう。
I'm not quite sure if it just looks weird or if she is talking to the player directly here. She explains to Nier that she knows someone who has the same disease as his sister, the King of Facade, a town located deep in the desert. So that's the next destination. The desert houses wolves for a reason we will find out in the second playthrough, but I knew immediately that these wolves aren't what they seem to be. In the city we learn that the king died of the Black Scrawl and now his son is the ruler, but he is missing. The people here all wear masks and cloaks and speak a foreign language. Here I realised that this has to be the desert from Automata, and the machines we find there imitate these exact people with their masks and cloaks. I also felt that up until this point the game felt a lot like a Zelda game in how it is structured, and when the prince found his mask and strike this pose, I was absolutely sure it feels like that. With the king back in town, he tells us that they sadly don't know how to cure the disease, but urges us to visit again sometime. We receive another sealed verse, then head out and visit Yonah. Nier has a strange dream about a forest which speaks to him about the verses. After waking up, Yonah tells him that she had a similar dream, and when he visits Poplar afterwards, she informs him about a very strange letter she received from the Forest of Myth. So Nier heads there next, and the moment he sets foot inside, he seems to be trapped in some sort of a dream. This was quite the strange part, because the game makes you read a lot, can you imagine? It will do this a few times when trying to convey dreams and memories. And it does it very well. I can't remember the last time I was this invested while reading. Nier, together with Weiss, manages to break out of the dream, receives a verse, and Weiss comments exactly the thought I had myself. This was too easy. The next part has us find a missing wife, for a worker who hasn't clocked in since a week. Turns out she was just visiting her parents, and the man didn't really listen to her when she said that, and Nier finds himself trapped between them and their argument. With the worker back, the construction of the canal can continue, which later on serves as a fast travel mechanic. Nier checks on Yonah and she confesses to him that she has a friend, a pen pal which she writes letters to, but she thinks he is in danger, so she asks Nier to check on him because she isn't able to. After thinking about it, Nier agrees, and when he arrives at the mansion, he is greeted by a strange butler. It's a bit of a horror mansion, and it's so funny how Weiss is scared of everything that has to do with ghosts. It turns out that it was the butler who wrote to Yonah, because he heard of us and wanted Nier to find a cure for the eyes of his master Emil. Emil has a blindfold around his eyes because everything his eyes touch turns to stone. The cure is located in the mansion somewhere, but they couldn't get to it because of all of the shades, and that's where Nier comes into play. We reach a room with a magical book which seems to be connected to the petrification. It attacks us, but is quickly dealt with, and a page with the cure lands in Nier's hand. It is in a coded language though, so it will take some time. This marks the last seal found, and now the only part missing is Grimoire Noir. After arriving back at the village though, Emil follows not much later in an injured state. He warns about shades attacking the village, and soon after, a huge one does exactly that. It is headed towards the library, but Nier manages to stop it. The threat is not over though, as shades infiltrated the library, and after another battle, the Shadowlord reveals himself together with a book, Grimoire Noir. Nier and Weiss are heavily injured by them, and Noir tries to pull Weiss over to his side, but is stopped by Kaine and Emil when they talk sense into him.
Shiro! このクソボン! このクソボン! 肝心な時にわけわかんねえこと言ってんじゃねえ! ロクスポ役に立たないんだったら薪代わりに暖炉にぶち込んで本気で燃やすぞこのクズ神お前のその口は私たちに嫌味を言うためにあったのだろうお前のその頭は私たちへの説教でいっぱいだったはずだろう仲間を忘れて魔王がどうだのこうだのと眠たいこと言いやがってふざけてんじゃねえぞ
我らは統合されたシステムであり、正しき楽園を取り戻すための書なのだ。我らが一つになることは世界の必然だ。
正しき楽
そうだ、そのために我らはある。
行かないで、シロさん。
誰？
いいです、僕のこと忘れたって構いません。でも僕は忘れませんから。何があったって忘れない。シロさんがシロさんであることは僕が覚えてます。だからどこまでも追いかけて思い出させてあげます。戻ってきてください、シロさん。
おいシロを止めろ。このままだとあの黒いやつにシロが取り込まれるぞ。
黒い白、黒い白。
そうだ、そのまま我と一つになるのだ。ついにこの時が来た。統合されし我らの力を見るがいい。
シロさん。
シロ
僕たちは
うるさいぞ。しろしろと気安く呼ぶな。我が名は白の書だ。
シロさん。
シロ。
カイネ、お前はどさくさに紛れて役立たずだのクズ神だの言いたい放題であったな。小僧、また会えたな。
シロ、大丈夫なの？
その質問そっくりそのままお前に返そう。
まさか我らは二つあって初めて一つになる存在のはず。
知るか。我はお前ではない。我は我だ。そして我には仲間がいる。
シロさん。
頼りなく我がかけたくらいで動揺する。
シロ。
誠に遺憾な奴らであるが我の仲間だ。我はこやつらと共に戦う、そう決めたのだ。
シロ。
With the power of friendship, Weiss is rescued, and now it is time to show Grimoire Noir who is boss. With this beautiful rendition of Song of the Ancients playing in the background, I actually thought that things turn around here, and we managed to defeat him and rescue Yonah from the Shadowlord, who by the way resembles Nier a lot. All our spells got stolen by Noir, but throughout the fight we gain them back and strike him down, only to be met with absolute defeat.
シロ。
バカな。
いずれわかる。
ヨナ。
起きろ。
ヨナを返せ。
いずれにせよ我々の手に戻ることになるのだ。すべてが。
ヨナ
Yonah is taken away by the Shadowlord. Grimoire Noir still lives. Nier is on the brink of death, and if this wasn't enough, we have to decide if we petrify Kaine in order to seal the door shut, where a big shade tries to escape from. Nier decides that it is best like this, and with Kaine now also gone, the game jumps forward 5 years in time. This is the end of Act 1. After all this time, Nier has now grown and looks a lot cooler. He is able to carry two-handed weapons, which I never used. He receives a letter from Emil, who informs him about a possible way to get Kaine back. Nier heads to Emil's mansion, and they make their way into an underground research lab, where it was experimented on him and his sister. His sister Halua was made to be a weapon of unimaginable power, and would be called Number 6, but the researchers lost control over it, so they created a weapon to petrify her. Number 7, Emil. Emil thinks that by fusing with his sister, he will be able to undo the petrification. After a fight with Number 6, he merges with her, but loses his body in the process and becomes a skeleton with an unusual face. We meet Emil in Automata too, and now that I know how he got his appearance, things started to make more sense. He always talks about wanting to see his friends again, and how lonely he feels. Which, yeah, seems sad, but with the context of Replicant, his story in Automata fell into place, piece by piece. With Emil's new powers, we head back to the library and free Kaine. We get a happy reunion, but Devola and Popola inform us that Emil and Kaine have to sleep outside the village because the habitants are scared of them. This angers Nier, and me too, because what do you mean, you ungrateful bastards? They saved you 5 years ago and that's how you thank them. Shame on you. After sleeping over it, Nier calmed down, and Popola tells him that the Shadowlord is connected to the Lost Shrine, where we found Weiss. So we are headed there, and after reaching the top, we have to defeat a shade. While fighting, Kaine gets injured badly and can't hold back the shade inside her anymore and transforms into an enraged monster. Nier and Emil fight her and manage to bring her back. A door is opened but sealed with some magic. In front of it we find a stone fragment, a piece of the key to unlock the seal. To find the other fragments, we need to visit every place where we were as a young Nier. So one is at the junk heap, one in the desert, one at the Eyrie, and one in the Forest of Myth. I will talk more about them in the second playthrough. In between, there is also a bigger quest at the seafront where a shipwreck washed up at its shore. This quest wasn't in the original release from 2010, and it centres around a girl, which is a shade with enormous power, who only wants to be human, so it can be together with the man who took care of her this whole time. But tragedy strikes and Nier has to kill her. So with all fragments collected, we head to the Lost Shrine again, break the seal, and enter the Shadowlord's castle. To everyone's surprise, we are confronted by Devola and Popola, and after fighting them for a while, they grant us entrance to the castle, and vanish until we fight them later on again, where they reveal that Nier isn't human. He is a replicant who only exists, so the original Gestalt can be placed inside him. Humans had to free their souls from their bodies in the past because of a sickness that rampaged the whole planet. The sickness from the 5th ending of Drakengard, white chlorination. The human souls became the Gestalts, which we know as shades, and the shells created to house these shades are called replicants. The problem is that replicants started to gain consciousness themselves and began fighting for their own. Because the souls weren't supposed to be outside of a body for this long of a time, they started to relapse, meaning they lose themselves and become the shades we fight throughout the game. When a Gestalt is relapsing, the corresponding replicant is infected with the Black Scrawl. The Black Scrawl isn't a disease at all, it's the replicant's body slowly failing because the human soul it was created for is no longer able to return. We get this information from documents about Project Gestalt, handed to us by the twin sisters. White chlorination is mentioned very briefly in them, and I would lie if I told you that I didn't have to read about it outside of the game to understand it. It's a great twist though, and makes the game a lot more tragic, because in the end, nobody wins. The Shadowlord wants to do the same thing as Nier, save his version of Yonah. Devola and Popola are androids with the sole purpose of guiding the replicant of the original Gestalt to it. That's why much of the game seemed to be guided and Nier always seemed to be at the right place. Weiss even commented on the fact a few times, but was told to not overthink it so much. In a last fight against the twins, Devola is killed, which lets her sister spiral out of control, and I thought the voice actress did an amazing job here.
ポポルさん、もうやめよ
やめようってお前にそんな自由があると思ってるの？デボラを殺しておきながらよくもそんな。 やめてください。今ならまだ。
もう遅えんだよ。何もかもみんな殺してやる。
Throughout the whole game, she is this kind and wise person, but seeing her snap here caught me off guard, and I thought it was really well done, even when I didn't understand what's happening the first time around. Playing the version of Song of the Ancients, which belongs to Devola, was such a nice touch too. After beating her, the way forward collapses and Emil sacrifices himself so Nier and Keiichi can move on. Here we see how much Keiichi cared about Emil, and she lets her frustration out on Nier, before moving on to the final chamber to face the Shadowlord and Grimoire Noir. The fight itself was pretty anticlimactic, to be honest, especially against Noir. He just vanishes. The Shadowlord is also dealt with easily, but after a bit, Yonah wakes up and stops the fight. She doesn't talk to Nier though. She addresses the Shadowlord and tells him that she doesn't want the body anymore, implying that the gestalt of Yonah already took over. She explains that she can hear the other Yonah, and that she only wants to see her brother too. So, she steps into the light and commits suicide. Shades can't be in the light, or they will die. The fight then continues and Weiss sacrifices himself in an effort to pin the Shadowlord down so Nier can finish him off. Yonah seems to be dead too, but the voice of Weiss informs Nier that he can get her back by calling her through reliving shared memories, and so Yonah comes back. Keiichi parts ways with us, and before the credits roll we can see that the Shadowlord and his Yonah are reunited in the afterlife. A nice little ending. I was already thinking that I can't wait to see what all the shades were saying, while Nier slaughtered them without a second thought. The next playthrough starts at the moment we save Keiichi from the petrification, and we get a glimpse into her memories. They tell the story about her being treated very badly by everyone around her because she was seen as a monster. Only one person cared, her grandmother. They lived together happily, and Keiichi drew a picture of her grandmother which filled her with pure joy. It's the picture we saw at the hut and didn't waste a single thought on it. Keiichi also got her mouth from her grandmother, and then everything is taken away when the big lizard shade attacks them. It was really heartbreaking to read how her grandmother dies, while she only could watch it happen, having also lost an arm. At the brink of death, she strikes a deal with a shade called Turan, which regenerates her arm, explaining what we saw the whole time. This is also why we are now able to understand all the shades in the game. We start off by going to the Lost Shrine to find the first fragment for the seal. Here it is revealed that the Guardian Shade, now called Gretel, only wanted to protect his friends, because they saved him first. Keiichi and Turan comment on this, making me feel bad even more as I have to control Nier and he doesn't understand. We strike him down feeling awful, then battle the rampaging Keiichi, and collect the fragment. The next one is the same as the first time around. We head to the Forest of Myth, talk to the tree there, go into his thoughts and solve a riddle to acquire a fragment. Nothing too special here. When we arrive at the Eyrie for the next fragment, we are met with fearful villagers. They know that a young man is coming to slaughter them. They can't do anything about it, they just want to live in peace. While fighting us through the village, we now know that we are the ones attacking them, and not the other way around. They shout at us that we are the ones who aren't human, and that we are monsters. The boar with the eye we have to fight here is just all the slain villagers trying a last time to defend themselves. And after Emil and Nier defeat it, Emil breaks down crying, knowing that he killed them all. We also get a glimpse into the moment from Emil's past when he had to turn his sister Halua into stone. Heavy stuff. We then move on to the junk heap, where like in the first playthrough we get to see how the older brother dies. But different than the first time around, where it looked like a machine was responsible for it. We see that the machine was actually with a child shade, which it protected after its mother was slain by humans. They form a friendship, and the shade calls the machine Beepy. The shade even comments how the two boys sounded friendly, and how scary that whole situation was. The younger brother tells us that he doesn't know of any big shades, and that he only wants to kill robots. He gives us a beat-up sword. Nier comments how we already have this weapon from the first playthrough, and Weiss tells him to be quiet, because this is the second time this is happening. I love that even these small things are addressed, and in a very funny way. We go to find the part for the sword, and afterwards we need to wait for the boy to finish the sword. He will let us know with a letter as soon as he is ready. In the meantime, we get informed about the worker from the canal. He is missing, and his wife is searching for him. This leads us to the shipwreck in the seafront. We do the same thing as in the first playthrough, but this time we get to see how the postman cared for the little girl, not knowing that she is a monster which is eating humans. One of them is the worker we are searching for. She also cares for the postman, and is beating herself up over the fact she can't be human. Ultimately, we kill her, and while dying she says how beautiful the world is. I wondered if she is connected somehow to the massive machine we encounter in Automata. because one form of her looks very similar, and it is mentioned with both how unbelievably powerful they are. They both come from the sea, and why did they feel the need to include it as an add-on with the remaster? After this, my favourite part in the whole game happens, and I think it is the saddest one too. We get an invitation from the King of Facade to attend his wedding. We accept, of course, and head for the desert. This time we get the view of the wolves. They speak about how the humans turned their forest into a desert, and how they can't fight them, but also mention that humans can live peacefully. They haven't completely given up on them. The pack leader seemed like this bloodthirsty beast the first time, but now he feels more like a very wise wolf. The humans are preparing for the wedding, and meanwhile the wolves rush to a trapped pack member. It's a human trap. The leader doesn't understand why all of this is happening, and the scene that follows when they arrive is so damn heartbreaking, it's enough to make a grown man cry. I would have sided with the wolves immediately if it was an option. The wedding starts, and that's when the wolves attack and kill the bride Fira. With both sides now only filled with rage for the other, the humans begin their march to the hideout of the wolves and fight one last battle. In the end, the wolves lose, and we get to see why the pack leader had hoped for the humans in the beginning. With this gut-wrenching part over, we receive the letter that our weapon is ready. We go to the junk heap to receive it and to get rid of the machine, that in the eyes of the brother, killed his older brother. Now we have to kill Beepy, while the small shade urges him to stop fighting, because he doesn't want to lose him and be alone again. With Beepy and the shade dead, we receive our last fragment and once again make our way to the Shadowlord. The ending this time around is actually pretty much the same, only this time we get to see how the Shadowlord feels. It is implied heavily that he is actually the boy from the very beginning of the game, where we played him in a snow-covered city while protecting his version of Yonah.
兄ちゃんはもう食べたからいらないよ。
お兄ちゃん、昨日もそう言ってた。本当は一回も食べてないのに。はい、ちゃんと半分こだよ。
ありがとう。
ちゃん。ずっと一緒にいてくれてありがとう。はい、お兄ちゃんの分。
ヨナ。
After the credits roll, we get to see that Emil survived and lands in the desert, possibly explaining how he ended up there in Automata. The third playthrough is exactly the same as the second one, but when you collect all weapons, you get a different ending, where Kaine gets taken over completely, and after fighting her, the shade inside her, Turan, presents us with two options: either kill her and set her free, or sacrifice ourselves so she can live. Picking the first option will result in Nier stabbing her through the heart while kissing her. The second option is much more interesting though, because sacrificing literally means our save data is deleted, and Kaine forgets about Nier completely. But it opens up a fifth ending, which as far as I understand wasn't part of the original release. It has us play as young Nier again up to the point where Kaine gives up on life, but this time she can't take the hand, and she wakes up in her small hut, from which point onwards we control her. We make our way into the tree, at the Forest of Myth, where we are met with two strange entities, calling themselves the Administrators. We fight them as they explain how they have been watching and listening for a very long time. They cloned Kaine and send the clones against her until she is exhausted, when out of nowhere, Emil appears to fight alongside her, saying that he also knows that he has forgotten something very special. Together they go through a door and arrive in a place that looks a lot like something from Nier Automata. Even the loading symbol changes. Here Kaine has to fight a lot of familiar enemies, and even the lizard. When she's on the brink of defeat, a voice she knows calls her out, Weiss. Together with his magical abilities, they take down the lizard, and Kaine remembers Nier and gets him back. And even our save files. It then ends off with a pretty strange cutscene, I have to say, and that marks the end of the game.
「私たちの旅は無意味だったのかもしれない」
「僕たちの過去は間違いだったのかもしれない」
「でも後戻りはしない」
「たとえこの世界が終わるとしても」
ここは大切な人がいる世界だから。
I think that the ending shifts the focus from trying to get humans back to what comes after humans, and by doing that, Replicant hands the torch over to Automata, where humans are completely gone and it becomes more about memories altogether. 2B doesn't cry at the end of Route A and B because she has to kill 9S. They can always just rebuild 9S. She cries because this specific version of him with his memories vanishes, and everything is doomed to repeat itself over and over again. Without this ending, Replicant just ends in failure. But with it, the future belongs to the things humans have created. Nier Replicant tells a much more intimate story than Automata. Nier just wants to have his sister back. Kaine gets her purpose to live back. Emil wishes to be with and protect his friends. It's about hope, shared memories and friendship. They all don't care what the others are or what they aren't, because they are accepted the way they are. And while there is the threat of humans going extinct, it doesn't matter to them as long as they can be together. The game is definitely flawed from a gameplay perspective. I can't imagine playing the original version where you even had to stand still while casting spells, but the world and the story it builds is just phenomenal. Is it better than Automata? Probably not, but it doesn't need to be, because it is another side of the same coin. It gives a lot of insight and makes you appreciate both games that much more. I think I don't have to mention how amazing the music is. By now this is just common knowledge. So thank you for watching, and absolutely play this game if you haven't already, even if I spoiled a lot here.